Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys taking some time out of your day to spend with me and watch the video. Always very thankful for that. And guys, today got a good video for y'all. I'm going to talk about the best lure to catch a bass on every month of the year. We're going to go through all 12 months of the year. I'm going to tell you the #1 lure for that particular month that gives you the best odds of actually catching a bass quicker than any other lure you can throw. Maybe some tips and advice on how to fish a little bit. So I think it's going to be a good video for everybody today. Also, guys, just a quick invitation out there. I'd like to invite anybody who's interested in becoming a channel member of Intuitive Angling here to just go to my YouTube homepage, my Intuitive Angling homepage. You'll see a little thing that says join on the bottom there on the button. Click that for more information. Channel members get extra videos every week that aren't seen by the public. I usually reserve that for some more of my secretive videos, some access to my personal email address for your fishing questions. So again, all you have to do is just click on that join button for information. Much appreciated. Okay guys, let's go through this. I'm gonna start out in January. We're gonna go through every month of the year. I'm gonna tell you the #1 lure to fish in the month. Now, this covers most of the lakes across the country. Obviously there's gonna be some outliers, like for some of you guys living in Florida, or some of you guys up north where the lakes are frozen over, that type of stuff. But for just most traditional man-made impoundments, this is gonna be a really good guide to go by per month. So the first one was talk about, guys, for the month of January, the easiest, the #1 lure that you can fish in the month of January is a jerkbait, like this Megabass Vision 110. Also, guys, I will link every one of these lures into my Tackle Warehouse description in this video if you guys would like to pick the lures up, or a good way to help the channel out. But guys, the jerkbait is the #1 January lure. This is gonna be your best lure to throw when the water temperatures are at their coldest. And I don't care if your coldest water temperature is in the mid-50s if you're down south, or if you're like in my part of the country, we get water temperatures 37, 38 degrees here. This is going to be the best lure that you can throw. A lot of the fish in the wintertime, they're suspended. Some of the fish will come up off the bottom to hit it, but fishing a jerkbait slow, specifically around main lake and secondary points throughout the whole month of January, is the best way for you to catch a bass. Now, each one of these months, you're gonna notice when the water temperatures and the daylight hours change, the mood and the personality of the fish are gonna change, so the lure categories change with that. So for the month of February, best lure to throw is some type of a flat-sided crankbait. This is the Megabass Flap Slap here. There's a lot of good flat-sided crankbaits out there. Berkeley makes a lot of good. There's a lot of good homemade flat sides. But a flat-sided crankbait like this is one of your best lures to fish in the month of February. Places you want to look for on a flat-sided crankbait, you need to find some areas that have a little bit more off-colored water. For the jerkbait in January, you're looking for clear water. The flat side is going to work a little bit better in slightly off-colored water. I don't mean dirty water, but water visibility that is like, less than 3.5 foot of visibility. And one of my favorite ways to catch them in February is fish a steep rocky bank. If you don't, riprap banks that are steep, channel banks, anything that is steep, just make long casts with flat-sided crankbait down those steep rocky banks. Month of February, it's a really good way to catch them. Now, March, guys, you can't beat a crawdad pattern crankbait. This is the Megabass Super Z2 here, wiggle wart, rock crawler, anything like that. A crawdad crankbait in the month of March is the superior bait. I've never been anywhere across the country where they didn't buy it. I don't care if you got rocky banks or grass or whatever. A crawdad crankbait in the month of March, when that water temperature starts to get above 50 degrees, really, really good way to catch them. And sort of similar like February with the flat side, the places I like for a crawdad crankbait are rocky banks, fairly steep banks, any type of the steep, bluffy, steep 45-degree angle rock bank, gonna be a really good way to catch them in the month of March. Now, April is sort of associated with a lot of the bass are starting to move shallow to spawn. And one of the things you'll notice in the month of April is fish start getting off a moving bait and they start getting on a slow bait. So without a doubt, during the month of April, when that water temperature is in the upper 50s to upper 60s, a shaky head worm is going to be your best deal. My favorite is using a 1/16 of an ounce. This is that Gamakatsu tricky head, Zoom trick worm on it, green pumpkin usually. And you can't go wrong with a shaky head in the month of April. It catches them anywhere and everywhere. I like to fish just shallow type of areas where I think those fish are getting ready to spawn. Again, secondary points can be real good before and after the spawn, but You know, I've always got a shaky head tied on in the month of April. It'll catch good ones too, lots of fish and good ones. Okay, now the month of June, after the fish get done spawning and they start to sort of get into their early summer patterns, easiest lure to catch a bass on in the month of June is a swim jig. Just some type of a swim jig. A lot of perch pattern, shad pattern, whatever you're throwing. But a swim jig fished on the shallow banks, like in the same type of areas where bass have been spawning earlier in the year, is a really good way to catch them, because the perch start spawning usually in June in most lakes across the country. So my advice for a swim jig in the month of June, if you want to catch one real quick, is go back into some of the flatter banks, flat coves, fish whatever cover is available. If you don't have any cover, just throw it up on the bank and start reeling it in. If you got shallow grass or wood, fish it around that. And try to keep the swim jig about an inch or two under the surface. Going to be a really good way to catch them. Now, in the month of July, or excuse me, that was May. In the month of June, guys, you can't beat a popper. Topwater popper, this is the Megabass Pop Max here. In the month of June is a great topwater month. I don't care for what type of topwater, but my favorite lure to catch a bass on in the month of June is some type of a popper like this. And guys, if you want to be almost guaranteed to catch a bass in the month of June, get out early in the morning or late in the evening and go to any riprap bank on the lake. It could be a dam riprap, a bridge riprap, whatever. Throw a popper out there right up against the bank and just sort of fish it at a slow, medium pace. Really, really good way to catch them. Also on any type of shallow point, those fish will move up and feed at night on those points. And if you get out there early in the morning or late in the evening, you can catch a lot of fish on a popper and a lot of different water clarities out there. Now, the month of July, guys, this is what type of year, really good time of year for deep diving crankbait. June and July both. It starts to tail off a little bit towards the end of July, but fishing a deep diving crankbait, this is the Megabass Deep 6, any type of a crankbait that'll run 10 to 20 foot deep, all you have to do, get out there on main lake and secondary points, put your boat in about 15, 20, 25 foot of water, start fan casting these big crankbaits all around that point. It's a really good way to catch them that time of year. The month of August, guys, you can't beat a small square bill crankbait. August, the water's super hot. Usually the water is, you know, your oxygen levels are mixed up a little bit. You got some thermoclines. Fishing usually gets a little bit tougher. Number one, easiest way to catch them in the month of August, get you a small square bill. This is Megabass S Crank 1.5, and head to the most off-colored water that you can find on your lake. So I like to find a part of the lake that's got anywhere between like 1 to 2 foot of visibility, and try to just bounce this off of whatever cover you got. It's a really good bait to fish off of logs, stumps, lay down trees, wooden boat docks, anything like that. Fish the square bill crankbait with a fast stop and go retrieve around any shallow cover in the month of August. Really good way to catch them. September is another tough month, guys. August and September are the two toughest months of the year. And one of the things you'll notice as summer goes along, the fish prefer a smaller bait. And that's when I go to a small crankbait. This is the Megabass S Crank, Super Z1 shallow crank. It's a real small crankbait. And these downsized diminutive crankbaits like this that run shallow is another really good way to catch them. You sort of fish the same type of areas that you did in August with it. Crank it around shallow wood in the off-colored water. You will notice a little bit in September, you can start catching them on rocky banks and stained water. But again, go to a real small crankbait in the month of September around shallow, off-colored rocky areas, and you're gonna catch them. Guys, August, you cannot beat a spinnerbait. October. October is my favorite time of the year to fish a spinnerbait, especially a small spinnerbait like this Megabass SD3. And the quickest and easiest way to catch a bass in the month of October, guys, is get out on those days where it's either cloudy or rainy, or get out early and late in the day and burn the spinnerbait around steep banks and main lake points that have shade on it. So say, for example, if you're out there 7 o'clock in the morning, get on a bluffy, steep bank that's got some shade thrown off it, cast that spinnerbait up against the bank, make a long cast parallel, and burn that spinnerbait about that far under the surface, you know, just almost waking it under the surface. And you can also do the same thing on main lake and secondary points. And it really helps if you have some wind. If you have a windy day that's cloudy or some type of low light day, burning that spinnerbait in October is a great way to catch them. Okay, the month of November, guys, to me is a swim bait. Small swim bait, just fished on like a little 1/8 ounce or 3/16 ounce jig head. Really good way to catch them. You can catch them around bridge piers, around docks. My favorite area is, again, get out on those main lake and secondary points and just fan cast this thing everywhere out around the point ends and sides. You know, count it down 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe down to 20 foot deep. Just bring it in with a slow, steady retrieve on 6 or 8 pound test line on a spinning rod. Small swim bait is a really good way to catch them in the month of November. And finally, in the month of December, guys, this is my favorite time of year, is to fish a small jerkbait. This is the Megabass Shading X. It's sort of like a hybrid jerkbait crankbait, but a downsized jerkbait is a really good bait to fish in the month of December. January, like I said, it's the Megabass 110. But this Megabass Shading X 75 is a really good example of a bait that you can catch them on in December. A lot of people don't fish it. It seems like the very first part of the year, like in December, when they first start biting a jerkbait, a downsized jerkbait, like in that 2 to 3, 4 inch range, is a really good way to catch them. Same thing, main lake and secondary points. But anyway, guys, that's my recommendations for the best lures per month. Obviously, there's a lot of extenuating circumstances that it depends on the species of bass you have. It depends on the water clarities, the type of day, the water temperatures. But that at least will give you a start, because out of all the years fishing I got, those lure categories by far stand out per month that I just went through. So hope it helps you guys catch some. We'll talk later.